Mercy by username Aaliyah P95. Mercy was once a normal girl, living a normal life. She had loving parents, a little sister she adored, friends, a life. She had stability and comfort, and like many of us, she took it for granted. Mercy lived with no fear, no regrets. She lived in the moment and loved it, until she lost everything. It was a mundane evening, like any other. Her parents asked Mercy to babysit her sister so they could have a night on the town. Like a typical teenager, she griped and moaned about it, but begrudgingly agreed. Mercy didn't know that moment, that decision, would shatter her world by the end of the night. Mercy had put her sister to bed, cleaned up dinner, and plopped down on the couch. She stared at the screen and giggled a bit as she saw her favorite movie, 13 Ghosts, start up. She let out a sigh as she finally relaxed and settled into her comfy spot. Halfway through the movie, Mercy was zoning out, wondering where her parents were. A sudden knock on the door pulled her back to reality. Mom wouldn't knock was the first thought that raced through her mind as a chill went down her spine. Her sister Jessie's voice once again dragged Mercy back to reality. The knocking on the door was getting aggressive, and Mercy could see the fear on Jessie's face. Mercy motioned for Jessie to get down and hide on the stairs. Mercy slowly walked to the door as dread coursed through her veins. With a deep breath, she ripped open the door, braced to protect her sister by any means necessary. The sight of 2 police officers killed all of her momentum and froze her in her spot. The next few days zoomed in a blur around Mercy. The officers had told her that her parents had died in a car crash. A drunk driver, they had told her with pity in their eyes. Soon, Mercy and Jessie were in a car with a stranger being brought to child services. With no other living relatives, the sisters were now wards of the state. Mercy and Jessie spent the next few years going from foster home to foster home. They experienced abuse, neglect, starvation, and every other despicable thing a child should never have to experience. Through all the pain, though, at least they had each other. That solace, though, was soon ripped away from them. Mercy was 18. She had aged out of the foster program. Mercy was thrown to the mercy of the world with no money, no hope, and nobody. Mercy begged the courts, begged the state, begged anyone who would listen. She begged to be with her sister. Sadly, though, with no means to support herself, let alone the both of them, Jessie remained in foster care, while Mercy was thrown on the streets. When Mercy couldn't feel more alone and helpless, news of her poor sister's death reached her. With Mercy not there to protect her, Jessie was beaten to death by her foster family. The sight of her poor sister's broken body broke something in Mercy. The last shred of love and connection to the world was ripped away from her. Mercy was shattered, a shell of her former self. Mercy spent the next few years walking the streets, mourning the loss of her family, the loss of her life, the loss of hope, dead to the world that abandoned her. She felt invisible, unseen, unwanted, until one night when a car pulled up. A kind smile greeted her as a nice young couple asked her if she needed help. Mercy felt something she thought was lost. She felt a spark of hope build inside of her. The couple offered Mercy food, clothes, and a bed. Most importantly, they offered her compassion. Mercy's hesitation was soon smothered out by the woman's warm smile. The woman's smile reminded Mercy of her mother's smile. If only Mercy had noticed the venom behind the woman's eyes. As soon as Mercy was in the car, that familiar feeling of dread seeped through her body as she realized her mistake. The kindness was sucked out of the car as the feeling of malice seeped in. The woman's kind smile was now a smile of a predator licking her chops. They sped away as Mercy's screams went out into the world, begging once again for help, but once again the calls were not answered. The couple tortured Mercy endlessly. The physical pain was horrendous, but what was worse was the psychological torture. With each cut, each stab, each burn, they would spit acid at Mercy's soul. No one is looking for a girl no one cares about. You are worthless. No one is coming for you. No one cares. You are nothing. But still Mercy endured. With each new scar, her soul grew darker. She felt the hate, the rage, grow and consume her. She would make them pay. She would make them all feel the pain she felt, the pain her poor sister felt. Eventually, the couple got bored with Mercy and grew frustrated that she wouldn't die. They were ready for a new victim, so, just like the world, they disposed of Mercy. While she was still clinging to life, the couple chained weights to her ankles and headed to the lake. The couple laughed and prodded at Mercy as they rowed her out to the deepest part of the lake. As they threw her overboard, they left her with these last words: "You are trash." As Mercy slowly sank to the bottom, she didn't fight death, she embraced it. Feeling the darkness fully consume her, her last thought as the life drained from her body was revenge. As her soul began to drift up towards the light, something pulled at her ankle. The blackness she had felt consume her body had left it and grabbed her spirit. In the blackness, she saw chains begin to manifest around her spirit and begin to weigh it down. The blackness spread throughout her spirit, changing and consuming her, forever tethering her spirit to the place where her life was stolen, where her soul was darkened and filled with rage. Every day, Mercy's rage grew, waiting on those who took her life. It wasn't long before the couple came back to their dumping ground with their latest victim. As the couple rowed, they giggled and joked cheerily. They were quite satisfied with their latest kill and had long forgotten about Mercy. Their laughs were soon cut short as they felt a small jolt in their boat. The silence continued as the boat idled and came to a still. The man shook off the fear and checked on the motor. As he leaned over, the motor roared to life, but the sudden sound of the motor was nothing compared to what the woman was seeing. As she looked towards her husband, she saw his hand was gone. In its place was a bloody, gory stump. As she let out a piercing scream, she felt the world fade from her. When she finally came to, her husband was gone. She frantically looked around for him, but it was pitch black. There was no longer a moon or stars in the sky. She had to wave her hand in front of her eyes to make sure she hadn't gone blind. Trying desperately to calm the racing heart in her chest, she crawled around the boat, looking for any sign of her husband. It was just as she found the blood that the silence was cut by sinister laughing coming from every direction. "Do you need help, sweetie?" The woman tried frantically to see where the voice was coming from. It seemed to be coming from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. The laughing picked up again as the woman started to panic. After what seemed like hours, the laughing stopped. As the woman began to relax a bit, the boat was hit on one side. The woman clung to the other side and began to weep. Slowly, Mercy rose from the lake behind the terrified woman. Mercy dug her long talons into the woman's arms. Mercy dragged her fingers down the woman's arms, tearing skin and flesh as she did. With a wicked smile and venomous eyes, Mercy leaned in close and whispered, "Don't worry, I'll help you." Mercy ripped the woman out of the boat and dragged her down to the bottom of the lake. Mercy tore into the woman with her teeth, careful to keep her alive and feeling the pain as long as possible. When Mercy was satisfied, she took one of her talons and sliced across the woman's throat. With a satisfied grin, Mercy sank back to the bottom. That is where she still waits today, waiting for her next victim to come to her lake, waiting to cause as much pain and suffering as she can, waiting to make them pay.